Well, welcome back to me weekly yarns. What are we getting done this week? Not a lot, but we've been getting things done. We've been busy with the valve chest. We're getting some bits and pieces took out of the valve chest. I'll give you a quick look at the video to see what we've done, how we're getting on with that. We're getting the spool out and the insert for the relief valve. The lowering valve's still stuck. I've got the valve chest in the pan at the minute, boiling away there, so it'll come out of there as soon as the pressure drops, and it'll be straight back into diesel for another week or so. We'll keep cycling it. It will come out. It will come out. Well, this week I've been a bit busy. I've had a couple of days driving. I'm driving again tomorrow. And I'm driving all next week because I've ordered a Tascam DR05X. It's a self-contained voice recorder. I'm getting sick of the hiss that constantly keeps coming back in to the videos with the wireless mics. It doesn't happen with me Boya mic in the house. It only happens with that with the wireless one, and I think it's something to do with the fact that it is wireless. So I've asked a couple of people their advice, and they don't seem to think that buying a preamp is what is necessary. So as I say, I bought this Tascam voice recorder. We're going to try plugging the mic direct into that and then syncing up the video and voice in post-production to see if we can get it back together. We'll see how hard that can be, but never mind, we'll see what's what. Have a look at my video, see what you think. It'll be a short one this week because I say there hasn't been a lot done. Last week I did 5 days CPC training. This week I've done 3 days driving. Next week I've got 5 days driving. But if we want to buy the equipment, that's what we've got to do, innit? Have a look at the video, see what you think. Right, valve chest. What we did, we'll pop this into a pan, pressure cooker, with water in. I'm just going to go back in there in 5 minutes. We steamed it in there for 20 minutes, 25 minutes to let the heat from the steam penetrate the casting as much as we possibly could. It then went from the pan into an ice cream tub full of diesel, and it sat in there for 2 weeks. So I'm going to leave it in there for a week. But then we're going away on holiday, and I thought I'll just leave it sitting in the diesel and just chill it. So we came back for holiday, popped it back in the pan, heated up again, popped it back in the diesel. When it cooled, got it out. Obviously the spool is in here. Put a punch on top of there, give it one firm tap with a hammer, and it moved. It moved about 2 or 3 threads. And what I did then was turned it upside down, put the punch on the bottom, tapped it on the bottom, knocked it back in again, and it moved about 4 or 5 threads. Turn it back over, punch on the top, whack again. Just keep doing that. The movement got bigger and bigger, and it eventually came out. You can see on the end there, there's a little bit of rounding over from the punch, but that's just a screwdriver slot so you can hold the spool still while you're tightening the nuts onto there. Right, so that'll dress up, that'll clean up a treat, no problem. The place it was rusted in was just in the top of here, was this segment, this part of the spool valve was the one that was rusted in. When they popped it out, all this was full of oil. Looks a bit grotty, but they're against 50-year-old. So there, the edges on there are absolutely razor sharp. So it hasn't. I don't think it's seen a lot of abuse. This, I think the tractor's been abused, but I don't think this valve's been abused as such. So the next thing, that was the spool and the spring came out. Right, that was out of this hole here. The next thing was the insert in the relief valve. This is the one where the dump valve screws on the top of here. This is your return valve, the overflow valve, isn't it? This one puts the oil back out here, comes around, sprays oil all over the gearbox and everything out of this one. The insert was stuck in here. We got this one out by putting the 3/8 UNC bolt into it, pulling the insert out and punching the cap out of the bottom. This one, let's have a look. Where's my little bag of toys? This one we got by using a 6mm concrete anchor bolt. Not this particular bolt, because the one I used, it got deceased during the extraction process. And what I had to do was, in the bottom here there's a little square nut, so we had to push the threaded section through till the nut popped out the bottom, which allowed the fingers to close up even more. There's a little retaining spring on here that wraps around, that keeps these fingers under control. I had to take that off because this would enter up to the spring, and then the diameters of the spring would catch on the top and stop it going any further. So what I did was I whipped the spring off. The nut was out, as I said. We'll pop that down. We then put that in as far as we could get it. Must have been, was nearly down the mud, because I could just get my pliers into here. Put a nut, big washer on, tighten it up till it had a good grip, and then with the pliers on here like this, start tapping the pliers with a hammer. Again, this started moving 1 or 2 threads at a time. When you were looking down the hole, you could see that it was actually moving. So what we did again was we knocked it back into the hole, we pulled it out, we knocked it in, we pulled it out, and that started it moving. Eventually it came out. You can see on the bottom of here and on the side here where the corrosion is, where it's had a hold down inside there. That's still a bit tight, so what we're going to do, we're going to give this a polish with Scotch Brite. This will get a polish up with Scotch Brite on the faces here and down in here, and the holes will get a polish with Scotch Brite and maybe a bit of Brasso polish. We're going to try and not do anything that is evasive or aggressive, because bearing in mind this is probably the most detailed and intricate part of that tractor, and literally if you haven't got a valve chest, you haven't got a tractor. That left with a cap, so we pulled the insert out. That left with a cap on the bottom, so we can get in here now, put a punch down in here, punch the cap out the bottom. You can see on the cap there in the bottom there's a bit of very light surface rust forming in there. That took you had to be firm with that to get it out, because that in there is a really good fit. It might be that when we come to put it back together, I'm going to pop this in diesel or pop it in oil, and I'm going to heat this up so this expands slightly, just a touch, enough to make that easier to put these 2 caps back in. I have heard Shane dropped us a message. You've got to put Loctite 601, I believe, on here to seal them in. So that just left with now down in the hole in here. I don't know if you can see that. The only one that's stuck now is the insert for the lowering valve. So a quick butcher's on here. Where are we? Insert for lowering valve. This one here. This is what's stuck. It's got a nipple on the end here. Now what we're going to do, the same guy that removed his insert with this, removed his lowering valve insert with a socket. He got a socket that was just smaller than that, and he tapped it on, and I've got a feeling that the tapping process plus the fact that the socket went on possibly has moved his insert, and he was able to start and rotate it back and forward to a point where he broke all the rust off it, and he was able to get this out. So that's the plan. As soon as I finish this video, it's going to go back into the pressure cooker. It's going to get cooked for 20 minutes. It's going straight into diesel, and it's going to sit there for another week. With a bit of luck, the heat, anything that's in here, any voids, any liquids that's in here, will expand and push their way out through whatever orifice is there for them. Hopefully when we pop it back in, you can see the surface rust on that. When we put it back into the diesel and it cools, it'll draw the diesel in. Now this is cast and that's steel. Cast iron has a bigger coefficient of linear expansion than steel. Therefore, in theory, the casting should expand quicker than the steel, and it should expand further than the steel, thus breaking the hold or weakening the hold that that has in there. We'll see, but we'll work on the principle at the minute that this is savable, because what we're going to do, I need parts for that. The bits that I do need are these bits here. I've got the aluminium shim at the bottom. There's some sort of spacer cup thing goes on here. There's a screen as well in the bottom of this. There's a, I think it's 20 micron nylon screen that's in the bottom. So I need the screen, I've got the washer, I need that cup. And then we'll put it back together. Colin has sent me the name of a guy who's good with hydraulics. So if we can get this back together, and I'm happy that things are worth spending a bit of money on, I'm going to get this away to have it tested, because as David said, this is right in the heart of the tractor. If you put this in and it doesn't work, it's quite a bit of work to get it back out. So I would rather spend a little bit of money and have it tested, and somebody say to us, that doesn't work, you need to replace it, or the fact that it does work, or it doesn't work 100% but it works good enough for what we need. But that's the plan. So all our bits are going to go off into our baggies. Where's our baggies? So let's have a look. So this one here, number two is the relief valve, which is that and that. They're going to number 2. Number 8 is our spool valve. And then here we've got our 2 nuts and our washer and our broken circlip. So our spool valve and our spring pops into there. Or squash the air of them. Just means that when you pop them away, if you accidentally put something on top of them, it doesn't pop the bag and all, you just end up with a big drawer full of bits. So I'll just right. So that's the plan. We're going to go cook our valve body again, put it in the diesel, let it sit for another week, and we'll see what we get from it. Alright. Right, well that's it for this weekly on. Not a lot going on, but we have been really busy doing other things. Probably going to be busier next week as well, because I've got a full week driving next week. So, well, never mind, you've got to get the pennies from somewhere to fix the things, haven't you? You know, if we need to buy a valve chest, or when we're talking about our audio, if I need to buy a preamp, you're looking at a couple of £100 for a preamp. But we'll see. we'll see how we get on. Thanks very much for visiting. Don't forget, if you like my videos, give a thumbs up, like and subscribe please. Doesn't cost you guys nothing, helps us out tremendously, and it just makes sure that when there's another video released, you get a notification. You don't miss anything, you haven't got to go on looking for it, you know what I mean? But right, thank you very much, and we'll see you the next time. Ta-ra now.